Okay guys, this is for lesson 1.1, statement and variables. This one's going to be helping you for this coding assignment. So I'm going to go back to this coding assignment here. So it's called 1.1 variables. It's an instruction. So I'm going to click on this one. And so you can see here, if we go ahead and start it, show you what's going on. Okay, so variables. Now we learned how to get inputs and outputs. Let's learn how to keep that information a little longer and use it in different ways. Okay, so we have variables. We have a symbol called assignment and another symbol called concatenate. Okay, variables is the concept, and then these are actually coding techniques we'll be using to help make our statements and what we print a little bit more exciting and stuff. And we'll be using this throughout the whole time in our class. Okay. So, a variable is a storage container for information. So, it's just like math. And the idea instead, though, we're not going to use always a letter. We're going to sometimes use names so that way we can identify. So, it's like a jar we put it inside. Every variable has a name that we decide. You can use letters, numbers, or underscores in variables, no names, and you can't use any spaces. Okay? The name should make sense for what it is, so that way you can keep track of what you're doing. Okay? So, example. A height contains a value of 60 inches, or a name contains a value of, for example, Jesse. So those are examples of what a variable is. An assignment is a symbol that we use in our coding. Okay, it's a process storing information. We use assignments to tell what the variable represents. So to put in a jar, we're going to use an assignment. This assignment is actually an equal sign. Okay. By telling what the variable is and what we're going to put representing that variable, we use an equal sign, which is very much just like math. It's something x equals. But we're going to be using, we can use other things such as words instead of just letters. Okay, but we can also use numbers too. So let's talk about this first one. Okay, we're going to use, and this is how we do an assignment. We take the variable name, and then we put it equal to, which is that's the assignment operator, and then whatever we want that variable to represent. So let's look at what we have right now. Okay, currently right now we have it to print Judy. So if we play this, it's just going to say Judy. Okay, so let's make this a little bit different. And the idea, this you'll see why. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable name, and we're going to call it just name. And then we're going to use the assignment operator, which is equals, and then we're going to put in quotations Judy. Okay. Now inside, instead of having it print Judy, we're going to have it print the variable name. So what we're doing is we're telling that this variable name is the word Judy, and then when we print that name, that variable, it's going to replace that with Judy. And you'll see, it looks exactly the same as we ran before. Judy. Okay. Now the cool thing is we can change this to whatever we want. Okay. If we put, for example, and this is one of the common mistakes we don't want to do, okay, is if we put it in quotations. Now look what happens. If we put print name in quotations, it's just going to print name. Okay, so we don't want to do that. So remember, we want to make sure we take the quotations out. Now, the other thing is if we put Judy right here, it's going to be coming up in the error because it doesn't know what Judy is, and so we need to keep it around, quotation around it as a string, so that the computer recognizes what it's supposed to be. Oh, it's something I'm supposed to print. Okay? So that's another issue you want to make sure you don't do. Okay. So now you have that part down. So what's this mean? Well, the reality is I can change this name to Bob, for example. And so if I put Bob in the variable name, it's going to replace Bob. If I put Jared, and I keep doing that. Sorry. It's going to print Jared. So you can change the variable's name to anything you want. Now we can make it more exciting though. Okay, because right now we'd have to type it in each time. But what if we want the user to be able to type it in and have it something there? That's the next goal we're going to talk about. Okay, so concatenate. Concatenating is a plus symbol, just like the plus sign in math. Okay, if we want two strings to be printed together, okay, we can use the concatenation. We can use it to help us combine things such as variables and strings when we're trying to show something or print something in the console, okay, when we're running our program. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit more interesting. Okay, so instead, let's go ahead and put in something to say, and this is where we're going to use the string with concatenating the variable name. So we're going to put hi there, and then you're going to put a space. Well, actually, let me just do it like this. Okay. Now, what it's going to do is it's going to say hi there, and it's going to say Jared because the name is still there. Notice I have this string in quotations. Okay, so that's make sure you do that. Notice it's also red. That's a good indicator that that is the computer recognizes as string. Okay, and then obviously print is blue because it's the function. So let's run it. See, it says hi there, Jared. However, we have an issue right here. There's no space after it. Okay, so one of the things you need to remember when you're dealing with strings and you're concatenating with a variable, you need to always make sure there's a space. Now look, when I put that space, the computer recognizes there needs to be a space right there, and so now I print it says, hi there, Jared. Okay, now you could also add more stuff to it. So we can also use concatenating after. And then we could put in quotation marks an exclamation point. Okay, and so when we put this here, it says, hi there, Jared. And now you put an exclamation point after. Okay, so concatenating can be used in many different ways. Okay, we can add a string, concatenate with a variable, and concatenate with more of a string. Okay, now the other thing is we can do is we can make this even more interesting. Okay, so instead we could have this. I'm going to have to get rid of this plus sign, so I'm going to delete this, and I want you to go ahead and delete this. But I want you to see how variables can make things a little bit easier. We're going to put message as another variable. Okay, and then for that variable message, I'm going to put the string hi there. And I'm going to put the space. Okay, now what happens if I go ahead and replace this hi there with the variable message, I can put print message, concatenate with name. So it means print message and name, really, well, it's the same. And so when I do this, see, it still does the same thing. Okay, now like, okay, that's kind of cool, but really, what's going to help make this a little bit more interesting? Okay, there is more of it, more than what we can do, and that's really what we can talk about. Is the next one is an input, and that'll help it do the next one. And we'll be talking about that next. Okay, so and we're saying that, but right now this gives you an idea of what you can do with variables. So it's just a good introduction to it. Okay, that's it for this video, and thank you for watching. Please email me if you have any questions.